Hello and welcome to Anderson Community Television, the program at your service, the host Carol Donahue, and the guests today, Mr. Tom Caruso and Mr. Paul Drury from Anderson Township. So welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having us.
Thank you.
Actually, let's start out by giving your role, telling our viewers today what role you play in the township.
Well, I have a bunch of hats, but my official title is Anderson Trails Coordinator is one of my jobs, and Property Maintenance Code Inspector, and I do other jobs as assigned.
I'm the Director of Planning and Zoning, and our department is responsible for current planning, long-range planning, code enforcement, zoning approvals, and trails is a big component of what we do as well, sidewalk planning and construction.
Well, I think today let's start out by talking about the Transportation Advisory Committee. Now, what's that all about?
Okay, the Transportation Advisory Committee is a citizen group, all made up of volunteers. It is a citizens committee that works on transportation issues in Anderson Township. So some of the things we work on are, of course, the trails. They do a lot of work with the trails. They also do work with the Eastern Corridor study that's going on that can affect our region. They work on complete streets as part of the trails coordination. A big thing that we work on today is healthy communities, getting people to be able to passively exercise. So sidewalks and trails, getting people to get out of their cars and go places. That's part of what we do. And we also, because a lot of people haven't walked and rode their bikes over the last couple of generations, we run a Safe Routes to School program where we have a walk to school day once a year. And then we also have a bike rodeo for young riders to learn how to ride their bikes properly.
Well, you know, what you said is encouraging people to get out and walk. I think that is so important right now at this time of the year. We're here in the holidays and we're eating a little too much, drinking a little too much, snacking. So the ability to be able to do that is great. And for many years, it was almost unsafe to go out and do that on certain roads.
That's exactly right. I got started as a volunteer with Anderson Township, and the reason why, one of the things that concerned me is when my children were small, I would have to get in the car and drive them a half a mile to their friend's house, and it used to drive me nuts, but there was no safe way of them walking from our neighborhood to another neighborhood on the county roads. So that was a big push to work with this program to start building sidewalks in Anderson.
Well, Paul, the planning of that goes way back, doesn't it?
The planning, it does. It actually started during the bicentennial celebration for the township, and it was a result of not only providing safe transportation, but a means to bring the community together, a means to connect, as Tom was mentioning, to connect neighborhoods to neighborhoods, but also to connect those neighborhoods to points of interest or schools, churches, the hospital, the library, shopping areas, retail areas, but to get people from one neighborhood to the next without having to get into their car, which was also a community building process in itself as well. But yes, the planning goes back many years to our bicentennial, which we developed an Anderson Trails plan. And just to talk about the first plan, it did prioritize and provided a ranking system for trail lengths. And when we say trails, it coincides with sidewalks. They're essentially the same thing. Some communities say trails when they're talking about off-road trails and multi-use trails, such as bike trails and pedestrian trails. In the township, we use trails simultaneously with sidewalks, actually. It's pretty much the same thing. But we do have your traditional sidewalk that you would think of out in front of your yard, you know, along the roadway. But we also do have multi-use trails, such as the 5 Mile Trail, the Ohio River Trail, the Little Miami Trail. So the original planning process, though, set up a ranking system, and we collected information of where residents and businesses wanted sidewalks and had interest for sidewalks. And there's a ranking system of what destinations does that trail link to, what does the trail take you to, how many households it provides. It connects to those destination points, and each destination point is also given a different ranking system. So schools rank one of the highest. That was one of the key key points was to connect the schools to the neighborhoods. But also the other, destination points such as the library, the hospital, and retail areas also have a weight given to them.
Well, the Y, I think, too.
And the Y as well, right. So the segments were prioritized because obviously you can't build everything the first year, and it takes a long time to complete the plan. So it was a long-range plan, although I'm happy to say 15 years later,
Right.
we've made a huge dent in that
Oh,
plan.
yeah.
So it's interesting to see how far we have come with our trails program.
We've built about 15 miles in Anderson Township since this has started, somewhere between 13 and 15 miles. So there's been a lot of work that's gone into that. Community building reminds me of one thing that I never thought of originally when we started building these. I'm intimately involved with when these sidewalks get built, and a lot of times people will see me out in the street. And we notice people use the sidewalks or trails almost immediately, even before they're finished. But going back into the areas afterwards, one of the biggest things I hear from people is how much they've gotten to know their neighbors, particularly on the county right-of-ways. A lot of folks that live on, say, a major road like Asbury have never met somebody that lives 5 doors down. And with the sidewalk, they get to introduce themselves to their neighbors, and all of a sudden they develop a community on that street. It's really heartening to see that happen, because it really does build the community and gets people interacting with each other. So it's something I never would have thought of, aside from the exercise and transportation aspects.
Yeah, community building.
Yeah.
So someday someone could realistically, say living, I don't know, say in Summit or off of Royal Green or whatever, could get on a bicycle and follow a dedicated trail and go all the way to downtown?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
Long term.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we're working on is the Little Miami Trail, which will, in working with Hamilton County Parks, they're going to be building a trail through Anderson Township that'll go to basically 32 and the Beachmont levee. When we can connect that trail into the Lunkin Playfield Trail, the Lunkin Playfield Trail will go to the Ohio River Trail. And then we are trying to figure out a connection from the 5-mile trail down to the Little Miami Trail. Yes, you would be able to, for example, get on a bike on 8 Mile, ride all the way through the Anderson Trails through the township. Yeah. All the way down to Little Miami Trail, onto the Ohio River Trail, and down to the Ohio River. More importantly, the Little Miami Trail in the future is actually going to be known as the Ohio to Erie Trail. That trail is designed to go from the Ohio River to Lake Erie. So conceivably, you could get on your bike
If you're venturesome.
if you're adventuresome and you want to take a couple of weeks and do bed and breakfast. You can get on your bike in Anderson Township, ride all the way up to Lake Erie.
Now, is there anything proposed, or maybe, I don't know, in place now that deals with 32?
Well, Route 32, the Little Miami Trail will actually go along that from Newtown.
But the western part of it, right? The western part of 32.
That goes from Newtown to Beachmont?
Yes.
Yeah, the Little Miami Trail will go right along that right-of-way. So there'll be a Little Miami Trail that will be about 40 or 50 feet off of Route 32. And so that bicycle will go all the way to, like I said, Beachmont, Levee, and 32. And then we're building a bridge, hopefully across the Little Miami River, and then over to the Lunkin Trail.
What is that area called? The Encore area?
Encore.
Area.
Yes.
Now, is that going to involve that area?
Depending on what happens with, remember we talked about the Eastern Corridor?
Yes.
That's part of what's being decided right now. What happens if 32 gets realigned? How does that happen? And how it affects different parts of Anderson Township. And that is a study that continues with the Ohio Department of Transportation, Hamilton County Engineers, Claremont County Engineer. Anderson Township pays for part of that study. So again, determining if and how Route 32 realignment works is a big part of that Eastern Corridor study. If Route 32 is realigned, there would be a bicycle and pedestrian facilities built with that system.
And the word you touched on before is who pays for what.
Yeah.
How is that divvied up as far as the costs?
Well, the planning cost, ODOT pays for most of it. Hamilton County pays for some of it. The city of Cincinnati pays for some of it. Anderson Township pays for a small amount of it. Claremont County pays for some of it. So the planning costs all go that way. In terms of how the road will get paid for, who knows?
To be seen.
To be seen.
I
Yeah.
see. And I know somebody asked me one time, oh, you know, all these sidewalks they're building, I can't wait until they start building them in our neighborhood. So viewers have to understand that these are sidewalks that connect different points of interest, community places. It's not neighborhoods like you're ever going to go in and say.
Right, that's correct. Our priority is to connect the neighborhoods because we feel that the neighborhood streets or the local township streets, if they do not have sidewalks on them, they're a little more safe to walk on the street versus a county road, which has a higher speed limit and more traffic volume on those roads. There was a period of time from the 60s and 70s, subdivision regulations and subdivisions were built with sidewalks, and prior to that. There was a time in the 80s up to the mid-90s where sidewalks were not required in new subdivisions, but now they are required in new subdivisions on both sides of the street. So if there's a new development in the township, it should have sidewalks on both sides of the street. Some of the older, when I say older, you know, pre-70s, those generally have sidewalks if they were a subdivision. And then there was a time period in there where there were some developments that did not have sidewalks. But right now, our main priorities are the more traveled roadways and to get you to those sidewalks. We feel that it's a safer walk than actually going into some of the neighborhood streets.
How about that stretch of property on Clough to the western part of the township, say Turpin Hills Drive up to
Route
32.
or to Hunley even?
Right.
I mean, are there going to be sidewalks there because of Turpin High School being around the corner?
It's that portion of Clough is very challenging,
Yes.
as you know.
Yes.
The right-of-way is narrow. The topography, you know, on both sides of the street is very rough, and the road is very curvy. So we're looking at alternate routes through Turpin Hills, through the 5-mile trail stops at Turpin High School. It stops on Newtown Road, but
Right,
it's
by the
adjacent
church,
to,
right.
to Turpin High School, and there is a sidewalk to get from the high school to the 5-mile trail. So we're still exploring options of, you know, collecting those residents in that area and how to tie them into the trail. Clough is very difficult and very expensive to do any sidewalks through there. We are working right now with the Clough Business District in that area from from Newtown Road to Golden Gate. We've been working with that business district for quite some time now, and we did receive a CMAQ grant, which is a Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Grant, to provide a sidewalk through the business district. So once that plan is and that project is finished, there will be a sidewalk from Newtown along Clough through the business district to Golden Gate. So we will tie those businesses. There's an apartment complex up, you know, through that area. Once you get further west, it's a little more challenging.
It seems like there's a sidewalk by Turpin Hill Swim Club.
There is a sidewalk
then it sort of
there
stops,
as well.
doesn't
It
it?
does,
Yeah.
yes.
And it connects the Turpin Swim Club up to Turpin Hills.
I
But
see.
that ties into another thing. Some of the areas of Anderson, until the roads are upgraded, it really is almost impossible. Portions of Clough, as you said.
Right, they're
One of the-
deteriorating here, right?
And there's not enough right-of-way to create pedestrian facilities. So one of the things that TAC is working on, the Transportation Advisory Committee, is trying to create a wayfinding sign system that takes people that live in Turpin Hills how to get through the neighborhood to get to, say, the 5-mile trail, or other neighborhoods that go along Clough to try to take them through the neighboring streets instead of the county roads, so that you still have those connections, particularly for bicycles. And they have a wayfaring system where they can get through those and still make the connections off of Clough. So it's one of the projects that we are working on. There's a lot of things we're working on. It's just one of those things that, it takes some time to develop. But we hope that works for a lot of people.
Now, somebody is interested and would like to be on a committee. You have lots of committees where people can have input, I'm sure.
I'll talk about that.
We do have, and that's one item that our department helps to organize our citizen committees on various topics, and one of those is the Transportation Advisory Committee. In the fall, late October into November, we take volunteers, and we are advertising for volunteers for the upcoming year for 2013 to serve on these committees. So if there are viewers that are interested in being on a township committee, they should contact the township, myself, Tom, Steve Sievers. Let us know their interests, what committee they may be interested in, and therefore, usually in December, the trustees appoint new members or existing members, reappoint them to the committees for the upcoming year. Some of our committees are more open-ended as far as the numbers that can serve on them. Some of them are statutory and have a limited number of members, but we're always looking for volunteers. And if there's not interest in necessarily serving on a committee, but serving on a special project, that's always an option too. And one reason why we're here today as well is we want to solicit input for our upcoming trails update, our plan update. So I don't know if you want to mention a little bit.
I can mention that right now. We are, in 2013, we're going to update the Anderson Trails Plan. The original one was, for the whole township, was developed in '99. Then we had an update in 2003, 2005, 2007, and 2009.
2009.
And so 2013, we need to, again, we've completed some of the sidewalk segments that were in the 2009 plan, and we need to, we're asking citizens to give us input as to where they would like sidewalk segments built. I must tell you that the easy fruit, the low-hanging fruit has been picked. A lot of this sidewalks that will be built in the future will be a little more challenging, but we are trying to get input from citizens of Anderson to find out exactly where they would like to see sidewalks built. And then starting in January, we'll start going through that list, and also lists that are generated by the Anderson staff, by the trustees, any place. And we'll start going through those and seeing, rating them based on destinations that they make, how much the cost is, how many houses they serve, and we'll rank those segments based off of that criteria, and then hopefully put those in our 2013 plan. So.
Now, currently, are all the sidewalks are completed? Maybe this time of the year you don't pour them because of the weather.
Right.
But
well, and that's very interesting. A sidewalk project can take up to 3 years to plan and design and actually go through following construction. So sidewalks, we had one major sidewalk that was completed this year, and that was on Asbury Road. That was a major sidewalk project that actually been many years in the making.
It was 5 years. We started it originally in 2007, and it was a 1.1 mile
with
sidewalk.
a little wall with it too,
with
right?
a little wall.
Actually, a very big wall, a very
right.
expensive wall to help keep Asbury in place. Yes.
But we had two other segments that are near design completion that should go to construction, most likely starting early 2013 in the spring. Generally this time of year, you're right, construction is winding down just because you don't know what the weather could do. The Asbury Road sidewalk, we were actually able to work through the winter last year, but it was such a mild winter, and we tried to not plan for that. We tried to have the plans completed, permitted, and ready to go in spring and bid in the spring. So there are two segments, one on Clough and one on 8 Mile that we anticipate to go to construction early in 2013. And there are other projects that still need to be designed.
Is it all right to ask where on 8 Mile?
It's from Brownsboro to Forest, and with that section, 8 Mile will have sidewalks from the 270, actually south of 275 Bridge, all the way to, what's the subdivision?
Anderson Woods.
Anderson Woods, north of Clough. So it's over a 2 mile segment
Very good.
of sidewalks. So 8 Mile is a success story from really piecemeal when I first started working for the township, even volunteering for the township, till now it's pretty well completed.
Yeah.
It connects a lot of folks. It's a great system.
So in the next few months, over the winter now, you're going to be working on these projects. Are you looking ahead towards additional, like going towards the southern part by the river?
Yes, you know, all areas of the township, we're taking input as to what segments are desired. And again, it's a ranking system, so you know, we like to spread out the sidewalks in various areas of the township, but it is also a ranking system, and pretty much where you get your biggest bang for the buck, because as Tom said, the low-hanging fruit has already been picked. So the sidewalks from here on out, they're not only challenging, but also with that comes added cost because of walls or grading or right-of-way. So it'll be interesting after this Trails Plan update what ranks high and what hopefully we can move forward with. But it's getting more challenging, but that's fine. That's why we do the planning process to begin with, so we can plan for the extra cost of those, and if needed, you know, seek funding, outside funding sources.
Well, this is a little off the subject, but the trails, we have now additional parking, correct? By the trails there as it ends on Newtown Road?
Yeah, one of the most requested things about the 5 Mile Trail, which we didn't think about when we first designed it, is a restroom and drinking fountain. We've always thought of it as a transportation facility, and it is. A lot of people use that to go up to the Anderson Center, they go to the library, they go to the town center. So it does work as a transportation facility, but it also is a recreational facility. And a lot of people, because of that, want to have a drinking fountain, sometimes need to use a restroom. And so we are finishing up a restroom facility and a drinking fountain. Should be done probably by the end of November, I'm guessing.
So are those both located right near the entrance to the trail?
At the north end at Newtown. Of course, in the southern end, the 5 Mile Trail goes all the way to Anderson Center and Anderson Center Station. So there are also restroom facilities at that end of the trail also. So if you go to one end, you can get a drink of water or use the facilities, or either end. So
that is really great. So looking ahead, we're going to look for some new sidewalk studies, placement of new sidewalks. We're going to look for these facilities at the trails. And if there's any other words of wisdom you'd like to impart today? Keep on walking, probably being one of them.
I think, yeah, everybody, you know, with the seasons that we're coming on to, yes, getting some exercise is a great idea. Think about getting on a bike or riding or walking if you have a short distance to go. It's much healthier for you. You'll get to see some of your friends out, and it gets a car off the road. And so it helps the environment. Everything. Yeah.
Right, I would echo that. If you haven't been out on the trail system lately, to stop by the township offices and get a map to see what has been completed over the past 3, 4, 5 years, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised that you can get from one destination to another. It's an option now, where as before it may not have been an option for you, but to try that, it's great. Exercise, as you said, it's a good way to meet your neighbors. It's a great opportunity. So.
Well, you've really brought some good news for us, and I understand we have some other good news. We'd all like to say congratulations to your family on the birth of
John Thomas, my first grandchild and son, and an Anderson Township resident, and I'm thrilled to death for my my son-in-law and daughter, and of course my wife is going googly-eyed over her new baby grandson. So thanks very much for mentioning that.
And that'll be just a great plan for him someday to be walking and riding his little bike on the trails for generations to come. They'll enjoy your planning and your attention to all these details, and we thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we thank all of you for watching Anderson Community Television. This is Carol Donahue saying, get out there and do some walking. Take care. See you next time.